All right, it's December 17th, 1:30 p.m., and we're about to begin the meeting for I'm calling the meeting to order for the MPO. Let's have a roll call.
Mayor Pete Sines, Webb County Judge Tano Ita, Councilmember Charlie San Miguel, Councilmember George Allgilt, Councilmember Roberto Wally,
Here.
County Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez,
Present.
County Commissioner John Galo, Textile District Engineer Mr. David M. Salazar,
Present.
and this Textile District Administrator Ms. Melissa Montemayor.
Present.
For the record, you do have a quorum.
All right, let's begin then with citizen comments. Have any citizens filled out cards wishing to speak today?
We don't have anything.
We don't have anything. Any citizens here wishing to speak? Okay, no one has answered, so there are no citizen comments for today. Let's go to item number 4, and we'll go to 4A, approval of the minutes. Anybody move to approve the minutes?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second. Let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Let's go to item B, receive public testimony and initiate a 20-day public review and comment period on the proposed adoption of the pavement, bridge, and travel time reliability performance measures and targets established by the Texas Department of Transportation as required by Fixing America's Surface Transportation Act of 2015, FAST, and which are all listed here. So, did anybody move to receive public testimony?
So moved. Second.
So we're now receiving public testimony on item B. Would you all like to move to also receive testimony on items C and D?
So moved. Second.
All right, so motion as amended. Let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're now receiving public testimony on items B, C, and D. Anyone here wishing to provide testimony? Okay, we can receive testimony today. Anyone wishing to speak for or against any of these items? Anyone wishing to speak for or against? So there will be no public testimony on these items. So at this point, I guess we move on.
Well, we would need the initiation of the 20-day comment period. If you're going to be considering both items, you could do so, initiate the 20-day comment period on both items.
So do we have a motion to initiate the 20-day public comment period?
On item C and D. I'm sorry, C,
B,
yeah,
C, and D.
not E.
Right, B, C, and D. Those are the ones before us are B, C, and
It's
B, C, and D.
B, C, and D.
B and C, not D.
Not D.
Not D.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay. Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All right. There's a motion, a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So moving on to item, let's see, D. Moving on to item D. It's before us, but it is a motion to authorize a request to FHWA for the reclassification of Highway FM 3338 Las Tiendas Road from FM 1472 to State Highway 255. The highway must be reclassified from rural minor collector to rural major collector in order to qualify for federal construction funds. So is there a
motion to authorize the request as stated in item D?
I'll second that.
There's a motion, a second. Any discussion? Is there no discussion? Let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item E, discussion with possible action on the River Road project. Do we have a presentation on this item?
Staff doesn't have anything on this item. This is usually an update, comes from the chairman.
All right, is there any update?
No one from city staff has an update on this road? On the River Road project? No? Okay.
All right, any motions from anyone here on this item?
If I may, just I would move that city staff be tasked with providing us an update as, with regard to the River Road project for the next, MPO meeting.
All right, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second?
A motion, a second, and all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's move on to item F, discussion with possible action on the Achar Ruthinger Road. Any presentation?
No, I have a small update on it. On, July 16th, the, resolution number 28R-96 came before the city council and was approved. And it authorized the city manager to execute a 380 agreement, relating to the development of a roadway traversing approximately 5,135 acres located west of I-35 at the Unitec overpass across the Achar Trust property to FM 1472, that's Mines Road, and providing for effective date. That document is with the person with which the city has made the agreement with Verde Corp. The agreement was the scope of work, including the development of the schematic and the environmental document in the amount, and they will be paying $275,000 for said services. The document is with them currently in the process of being executed.
All right. Yes, sir.
On the Ruthinger section of the road, just letting you know that we
Could you
have.
please identify
I'm
yourself?
sorry,
for the record?
yes, of course. Luis Perez Garcia, Webb County Engineer.
Welcome.
For the record. Just letting you know that on the Ruthinger side of this project, that we have also received notice to proceed from TxDOT accepting our proposed responsible person in charge and project manager. We're doing some of the paperwork required on the checklists and the various different things to make sure that we're going forward. We've spoken to various people at TxDOT and we're moving forward.
All right.
Okay.
Any questions from anybody on the board?
It looks like on both sides, it's kind of, it's moving forward, in other words, right? No delays
Yes,
at
sir.
all or anything else?
And we're in the process of moving forward with the schematic environmental.
Mr. Chairman, may I inquire?
Yes.
And who is that designated responsible person?
I will be the responsible person in charge. Mr. Guillermo Cuellar will be the project manager.
Who's that?
The gentleman sitting, he's
Also with the
he's the assistant county engineer.
Got it, okay.
And so they have accepted us as the people in charge, and we're going forward.
And what is and this is for the PSNE or what?
It's for the environmental section.
Just for the
Yes, sir.
environmental?
Yes, sir.
So, and this would be from Farm to Market 1472 to I-35 along both the Hachar and Ruthinger stretches, or just the Ruthinger stretch?
No, the county is working on specifically the Ruthinger portion.
Okay,
That we're working in conjunction with the engineering firms, and that we're talking, and that the whole project will be put together and presented forward. That's the objective.
gotcha. And so then, with regard to the environmental on the Hachar side of the equation, what's the status of that?
That's something
The
that,
city is lead agency on that, and that's they're at 90% on the schematic, and as I said, the city has formed an agreement with Verde Corp to develop the rest of the schematic and the environmental document.
And that's at $278,000 and change
That's
to
correct.
finish what was started.
That's correct.
And then now you've got
that is correct.
approval from TxDOT.
Approval from TxDOT to move forward, to begin our portion of the project. We will be sending adjusted timelines to
That was
TxDOT.
gonna be my next question. What's the estimated,
We presented one 3 or 4 months ago that started back then.
Right.
We'll move the projections forward for the period of time that it took to get to that point. So you should be receiving, we will be sending to TxDOT an adjusted project timeline,
and,
which we'll be making public to you. I would imagine by the next meeting, we can have that
okay,
timeline.
that was gonna be my next question, if you could provide that to us.
available.
And so really, since the last time we visited, which I wanna say, was a couple of months ago, I know at least that I was present, we were waiting for TxDOT to approve you specifically to be the designated responsible contact.
That and several other items, we've been making really good progress. Mr. Bratton has been instrumental in assisting us to move forward on this project. And I believe the folks from TxDOT and everybody else is in agreement that we're moving it forward.
Okay, great. All right, well, that's good news. Thank you, Mr. Bratton, for moving things along.
Anything else? Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Phil?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and since there are no motions on this, there's no action, we move to item 5, and we'll start with 5A, status report by TxDOT on the outer loop alignment study.
Yes, good afternoon. Roberto Rodriguez with TxDOT.
Good afternoon.
Yes, on the outer loop, we have the consultant was actually hired a couple of months ago to start revisiting our schematic that we have. Right now, so today they are collecting all the data that we have existing, all our records, so they can compile and make any revisions as necessary.
All right, and who was hired?
If I'm not mistaken, it was, well, was that Melissa, the consultant, the outer loop?
Jacobs.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
Jacobs
Jacobs Engineering.
hired. We've already have them actually hired.
Sure, yeah, they're right now in the process of collecting all the data.
Do we have a timeline for when they'll be ready?
We'll estimate, I think the last schedule we got from there was about 18 months to.
So I guess that study, Mr. Chair, if I can.
Yes, of course.
So that study, once it's completed, then we'll see a visual picture of, I guess, the recommendation, where
Correct.
it's gonna fall.
We had one before done about 2007, I wanna say 2007, 2008, but then the project was put on hold.
Obviously, things
And,
change.
yeah, and now they're revisiting that schematic, that alignment, and making sure it's still viable. We had some issues on the south portion of the alignment due to new oil wells and development. So we gotta revisit that and get back with the property owners.
And are we taking any recommendations, or are we following anything from Casey Southern? Because I know they've also conducted their own studies as well.
Correct, and actually their study, came pretty much side to side with our
Okay.
highway, the study they had at that time.
Well, that's
Our
exciting.
alignments are very similar. About 10 years ago, when we were studying the outer loop alignment, and KCS hired Alliance to do the same thing. At the end of those studies, the two alignments paralleled each other. So, we basically came up with the same alignment. So that was good news.
It is, and it's exciting. I think finally we're moving forward.
Mhm.
So,
All right.
thank you.
So any other questions,
And just to-
comments?
I think you said it, but just to make sure I captured it, you're saying that study should be completed by when?
About 18 months. That's what we had on the schedule, 18 months to redefine that alignment, make sure that we're still looking at the same alignment as before. And if we need to make any revisions, then we'll move forward at that time.
And Does it, and forgive me, I've never planned an outer loop. I don't know much about how one would go about doing that, but a year and a half seems rather, a rather protracted time period. But maybe given the amount of distance that we're covering and the complexities with the terrain, albeit it is for the most part flat, why 18 months?
Well, they have to do all the data collection, and they have to revisit all the constraints we have. And like I said, our main concern is on the south portion, which is from 359 to 83. We still don't have the exact connecting point on 83 due to we want to connect where the new bridge 45 will connect. So we're still looking at that area right now. We're still gonna get some.
So then is there something that we need to do on our end with regard to Bridge 45 so that we're not just so up in the air wondering where this is supposed to connect? So that this Jacobs firm has a little more, I guess, clarity with regard to what it is that they're supposed to be looking at?
Sure, if we can get the location of where the roadway that is gonna come from the Bridge 45 will connect to 83, and then we'll take it there from 83.
We're
to the-
taking that in consideration, and we actually have some lat longs as to where Bridge 45 is being proposed. And so that information is being shared with Jacobs. The other good thing is that, now we have a federal Laredo, Nuevo Laredo committee.
Mm-hmm.
There are monthly conference calls, and projects on both sides of the border are being shared amongst that group with both, state and federal officials in Mexico, state and federal officials in the United States, so that we are on the same page, so that we're not blindly developing projects without the other country knowing, and other state agencies and federal agencies knowing what we're all working on. So we're optimistic that and I know Mr. Garcia was on our last conference call, so we're optimistic that this monthly coordination is gonna do just that, is gonna have that communication. I have this project coming up, it coincides with yours, let's make sure we're all on the same page.
So what, I mean, this isn't just to you, but anybody in this room who thinks they might have the answer to this question, what action or agenda items need to be had as it relates to, what should this MPO be doing proactively to assist this Jacobs outfit? What agenda items do we need to bring forward? What sort of approval do we need moving forward so that we are in fact doing what you're saying that they're doing?
Right now, as Jacobs continues to develop, this study / schematic, then we will be coming to the MPO with updates. And then at that time, I guess, we're relying on the MPO to help guide the project and make sure that, everything's on the right track. If you think any revisions need to be made, changes, that's the sort of, I guess that feedback and communication is what we need from
Is there anything action-wise, though, that we can do so that we're a little bit more sure-footed?
Eventually, funding the outer loop, and, we're looking at, could be, if it's coincided, if we wait to coincide with Bridge 4-5, you're looking at, about 10 years out. There are segments, though, that can be constructed first, like let's just say the segment between 359 and 59. Well, that segment, we can say, well, if there's available funding, identified construction dollars, then perhaps that segment can be constructed, as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But those decisions, identifying construction dollars, leveraging, public-private opportunities for funding, those types of decisions are, perhaps what you're.
What about something, cosmetic, like a resolution saying we support Bridge 4-5 and its proposed location, so long as it coalesces with an outer loop? I know it's.
I don't think that hurts. Definitely.
Is there a downside to doing that?
Not that I can think of. I mean, it supports.
Does anyone in this room think there's a downside to doing that? Mr. Bratton?
You don't have an alignment that you've looked at yet? That's what you're waiting for, a design alignment?
Yes, sir.
You don't have any of that.
So it's premature?
Very much so, I would think. I mean, once you get your alignment, then you can support that alignment and move forward. But until you get that, I mean, what is it that you're saying? We support an outer loop?
Mm-hmm.
I think the concept, but I think the concept, I guess, that you support that this is a project that merits studying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's already been studied. I mean, you've already got it on your books. You've got it, a consultant ready to go.
But once we finish schematic, if we want to move on to PS&E development.
Is the schematic that you're doing right now also going to do the environmental?
No, it's
Mr.
the
Bragg,
schematic
come
alignment.
on
It's
up.
alignment right now.
Please, come on up.
Share the podium.
No, come on up.
I mean, really, there's a sequence, and you need to know what your alignment is and all that. But I mean, you're going to have your schematic, then you're going to have your environmental, and so forth. You can put a resolution out there. I mean, if you want to. I mean, I think the mere fact that you've encouraged TxDOT to do that is a pretty good sign that you're interested in that.
The reason I ask, and I know it seems kind of,
The
a
issue
silly question or maybe a fool's errand, but the reason I ask is it's just that historically there has been a tug of war between the location and whether it should be here or there, and just to kind of clear the air that unequivocally what we're saying now as an MPO, as a council, as a county, is that we get it. The best location would be somewhere other than the already beleaguered, Mines Road area.
Well, I think that's clear. I mean, the thing that I see is that, you're looking to establish the path of this new roadway, okay? 80% of that roadway is outside of your NPO boundaries, if I'm correct,
I think so.
okay? 80% of that is outside the NPO boundaries. It's in the county. So at a minimum, I think the MBO has said to TxDOT, hey, can we get this study done? I think that's in process. Once that alignment comes up, then I think you're gonna have an issue of everybody wanting to look at it, and there may be tweaks where, hey, I don't want it going here, I want it moved over here, and this may be better, this may, because remember, you're gonna come up with a build, you're gonna do all that, the build, the no build, and all that stuff, or you're just gonna have the alignment?
Right, we've already done that, Nathan. We did a study, this alignment with environmental constraints back in 2006, 2007.
I understand.
And we met with, we had public meetings, we met with affected property owners.
So you're gonna
So
now
we're re-verifying the
confirm and
alignment.
re-verify that. So all of
Correct.
that public process, you're going to
Reinitiate.
use or reinitiate?
We're gonna reinitiate it.
So you're gonna have new public process and all of that.
Correct.
So until all of that happens, you don't even have a verified alignment. Okay, so you're gonna put a resolution out there saying, what? We support this thing? Well, it's obvious. Once you get that alignment, then the resolutions are gonna kick in, because you're gonna wanna go to the county and say, county, what do you think? City, what do you think?
Right.
NPO, what do you think? Landowners, what do you think? So I think at that point, you start your process
Well,
of
maybe,
getting your
maybe
resolutions.
the alignment, rather, maybe the resolution is not so,
But I
so
do-
specific to the alignment. For me,
I
just
mean, you
from,
can
from
put
a,
a resolution out there saying anything,
well,
Councilman.
the start and stop points are really, how you get there is, I'll leave that to the engineers and everybody else, but, you know, as far as it, starting someplace along I-35, wherever that may be, but it's ending at the, Bridge 4-5 neck of the woods, I think is what is, critical to the port for purposes of being competitive with the other, border ports. And it's also important to the folks in District 7 because they are looking desperately for some alternative to more and more and more warehousing being stacked up in and around them.
If you look at your map up there, I mean, one of the points I think was at 255, right? Coming off at 255 on the
255.
north. Then there was a second point that was a little bit farther south. That was at 83 and the junction there, I believe. And then down at the bottom, it's kind of been either of those two, the old proposed site for the bridge and the current one. Those have all been fairly static. I mean, they haven't changed. But I mean, if you want a general resolution, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Just be careful of the specifics you put into it, because I've seen it happen to where you put something in there and then you're eating crow at the end of the day because you went too far in your resolution.
Keep it general.
Very, if you're gonna do that, I mean. But at this point, it's just kind of extra work. I think when you get closer to that alignment, you get some more reports, then you're gonna be wanting to do that. That'd be my suspicion, but that's up to you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bratton.
Thank you, Mr. Bratton.
Anything else? Anyone, any other comments, questions, concerns? Then no action was taken. Let's move to item B, status on the build grant. Who's presenting?
Yeah, I have a little bit of an update here. This week, we were informed that unfortunately our application was unsuccessful. I've included in your packet the package that was sent out from the Build Grant team. And if you notice the first page, there's a map, and there were 5 projects that were awarded funds in Texas, none anywhere near the border. Those projects, 3 of them were rural, 2 were urban. They're listed. I can name them.
Do you have any thoughts on what was wrong with our proposal?
They've proposed they're gonna do a little debriefing. So staff is in the process of coordinating that debriefing effort so that we can go over our application, and maybe they can give us an indication of maybe what we could have done better.
Well, would you bring, when you get that information, would you bring that back to us so we can know what we can do better next time?
Will do.
And for the public, for edification purposes, myself and the public, the Build Grant specifically was to do, what did we submit?
The
What was our
application
project?
that we submitted was the widening at I-35 all the way to the loop to the bridge, to do an extra lane and shoulders.
I-69 West,
I'm sorry,
I-69 West.
I-69 West, pardon me. So we asked for about $7.5 million for that effort, and the total project cost was about $15 million.
And even though we were matching, it still
We were
failed.
unsuccessful.
And this wasn't the one, the application that we turned in late. This was another grant, right?
No, it's not my understanding that it was turned in late. I think it was turned in right on time, right?
This one got in on
Yeah,
time,
this is not,
Turned in right on
not
time.
that.
not that one.
Submitted on-
Yeah, it was right on time.
This one, I believe, also has a component, the direct connect from,
No,
no.
not the build, you're talking about the infra.
The
No, I
infra
think
fund
Bill
bill.
had that too.
No,
didn't
no,
think
build
so.
only had I-69 West and the bottleneck on I-35 north of Shiloh.
he? And it wasn't even an 80-20, it was a 50-50.
50-50.
Yeah, you were leveraged way up, 50-50, and they still didn't bite,
Okay,
which is, I mean, that's way up
right,
on participation.
all right.
Anything else? There's no action taken. And then finally, status report from RMA. It looks like they're on Christmas holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
Right?
sent me an email to, I included it in your packet.
Happy
There's a-
holidays email.
There's a few things that they're working on.
Okay.
With regard to the Vallecillo, they report that they met with the Killam Company in October and are moving forward with a draft interlocal agreement that the RMA is currently developing. Upon receipt of the draft, they will begin reviewing the contents, and the interlocal agreement says it's still under development for distribution, and they anticipate final release of the draft this month.
That's good.
Los Presidentes, that's Cuatro Vientos de Concord Hills. They report that the RMA has drafted the interlocal agreement. The engineer for Webb County Drainage District has reviewed and provided comments. They anticipate release of the draft to the city and Webb County Drainage District this month. Very good. The Killam Industrial Boulevard turn lanes. They report that they met with the Killam Company to discuss the project last month and received verbal commitment to dedicate the right-of-way for this project. The interlocal agreement is still under development, and they anticipate release of the draft this month. The North Laredo Webb County Transportation Planning Study. Federal Highways has approved the application for eligibility for the CBI funds. Texas Department of Transportation has provided an initial draft of the advanced funding agreement on Monday, and that's November 12th. TxDOT Legal is working to provide a final draft to submit to the RMA. Upon receipt, the RMA legal advisor will review the draft AFA and will return comments to TxDOT within a couple of days. Finally, they report that once all these agreements have been properly reviewed by each agency's legal team and concurrence has been reached on the changes, the RMA will convene a board meeting for approval of all agreements.
Sounds like they're busy.
So that sounds like that way.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Anyone, I guess, you're not available for questions on any of this? Or
On
do you
their
think that's-
items?
Yes.
No, it would be difficult for me to respond to
Okay.
that.
So, anyone else? Have we covered everything in the agenda? Did we miss anything? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.